I'm live. Yay. Welcome everybody. Day 5 here in Crystal Falls, Michigan at the Iron County Courthouse for the lawsuit of Laura Frizzo versus City Manager David Thayer. And I'm just going to wait a few minutes, let some people get on here, find my live stream if they're interested, and I'm actually probably just going to go ahead and start. Long day today. We were supposed to actually stop at 2 o'clock, but they continued on until about 3:30. We watched the video the last hour and 15 minutes, but we'll get to that in a minute. I didn't do my half-day reports on Facebook. We ended up taking a 15-minute break, and I thought after the conclusion of that, we would just go back and finish 2 hours of testimonies and then be done. Unfortunately, we finished our 10-minute break. We walked back in, and they immediately put us on an hour break, asking the jurors if it was okay, and that they wanted to show a video before the end of the day, which is what we just watched. Anyway, let's go with it. Day 5 at the courthouse this morning, 9 a.m. Very first off, no TV cameras in the courtroom. TV6 did show up. They were a little bit late, and I think TV3 or Fox UP, one, I don't remember which one. Anyway, the more cameras did finally show up. I didn't see the Daily News there this morning. The Iron Mountain or the Iron River reporter was there. Anyway, onward with the first witness of the day was the prosecuting attorney of Iron County, Melissa Powell. And she is the prosecuting attorney who put Kelly Cochran in jail and convicted her. She's been a prosecutor since 2006 for Iron County. She was the assistant prosecutor here in Iron County from 2002 until 2006. She testified that she's worked thousands of cases together with Laura. She testified she never saw anything negative said against others. She's testified that Laura was very pleasant to work with. She was kind, and her manners were nice dealing with people. Laura's attorneys asked the prosecuting attorney about the chain of command evidence, because it came out very early during all of this that City Manager Thayer was acting as police chief after he fired Laura. And as an acting police chief, which he has no experience in whatsoever, he decided that he would go into the evidence room to make sure stuff was okay. Now, thankfully, there was no blood evidence. There was no crucial evidence that if the chain of command was broken, it wouldn't have affected the Kelly Cochran case that much. But it was a thought, but the prosecuting attorney said, even if he did go into the evidence room and monkey with stuff, it didn't necessarily mess with the case, even though that was highly unregular by anybody. That the chain of command was done by Laura Frizzo. Laura Frizzo was the only person that had access to that room. They didn't talk about it in court today, but before, on rumors and hearsay and everything else, it was said that David Thayer could not get into the evidence room, and in fact, he cut the lock off to get into it. That wasn't discussed here. That's off whatever that from before, but being how biased I am, there you go. Laura was responsible for 90% of all reports done for the Kelly Cochran case. Testified that Kelly Cochran actually told Frizzo where the body was. The defense for Thayer are pushing this issue hard that Laura Frizzo had no parts in this conviction, that Frizzo wasn't a star witness, that it was actually Frizzo's fiance, Jeremy, who broke everything. But in all reality, it was Frizzo who got Kelly to say where the body is. There's more on this body issue. We found out today they seriously suspect bodies are buried here in Iron County. bodies, like over 10, 20. When they say she was a serial killer, they aren't kidding. And they are serious about there are bodies buried, they believe, in the area around Iron River, Caspian. That's crazy to think about, especially with all the missing people around here lately. I've talked about this a long time, but I've always thought there was a serial killer or something happening because people just go missing and they're gone. I've never experienced that in any other place I've lived except for around here. And the fact that they said that Kelly had been killing for years before this with Jason, and they suspect, again, that they had been killing for a long time before they came to Iron River, before anything else got caught. So just keep that in mind, that they seriously suspect more bodies will be found. The prosecuting attorney said, quote, "This case would not exist if it weren't for Chief Frizzo," unquote. What more can you say about that? Yeah, the evidence room, Frizzo only had access. I kind of talked about that before I even came to it. It wasn't concerned because there was no blood evidence. I talked yesterday about this gag order that Thayer issued and held all of his employees to, the one that had to be changed because it was breaking federal guidelines, that he actually was stopping freedom of speech from this gag order. Well, it turns out that during this gag order that he issued for all the city employees, I guess it didn't apply to himself, because Thayer was talking to the media behind Laura's back, talking to a media, and I'm not going to say who. He was talking to somebody locally in his city about Laura, about her medical leave. And again, if you remember yesterday, I talked about he was waiting for some news article to be published before he fired Laura, so it would alleviate some problems, or in his mind anyway. The fact that he issued a gag order and then violated it himself, what does that say? Laura put in hundreds of hours for free from December 15 until February of 16 up for the trial. Cross-examination came across. Defense came in talking about the fake letter. If you recall, with the Dead North, and again, if you haven't watched Dead North, you've got to go watch that because you will understand a lot more about this case. They got Kelly Cochran, when Kelly Cochran called 911 to report her boyfriend or husband was not breathing or suffered some sort of traumatic experience. Drug overdose is what they said. I think she said it was a heroin overdose. The autopsy showed it was not, that she had actually smothered her. I'm sorry, that she smothered him, and that it was murder. Anyway, they came up with this fake letter saying that had anything ever happened to Jason, that a person would get this letter that said to turn it over to police, and they faked her out. It was a lie. It was a ruse. They totally faked her out into confessing what she did. Anyway, the defense just were on and on and on about the prosecuting attorney using this evidence as if it would have got her off somehow. I don't understand. I mean, I understand the defense. They're trying to get their case, but to attack a prosecuting attorney, making it sound like they used some fake evidence to do what they did, just the way they pushed it was just weird. They wanted the jury again to think Laura had nothing to do with him being caught. The defense attorney says the defense attorney was mentioning Jeremy, which is Laura's fiance, and I swear to God, this defense attorney called Jeremy Cochran. Said something about, do you know about Laura's relationship with Jeremy Cochran? And then she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to say it, Cochran. Oh geez, really? Are you sure you didn't mean to say it that way? It seemed kind of weird. Testified that the jury in the Cochran case never knew that Laura and Jeremy were dating. So none of the facts that they were dating, they met up and they're engaged now, none of that was ever disclosed to the jury during the Kelly Cochran trial. Defense talks about all the trips made by the police and all the expenses. They're trying to talk about how Laura was spending so much money on this investigation because they had dogs searching constantly. They had flyovers by helicopters, flyovers by airplanes. They had people searching through the woods, and the defense was trying to say, look at all of these expenses Laura cost our city. Prosecuting attorney shot that right down because all of those are free services. Iron County, Iron River, nobody pays for any of that. These were all volunteers. All the dogs with those people, those were volunteers. The flyovers by helicopters and airplanes, that was part of something, I think, the DNR or through the FBI, but it was all free. It wasn't, nobody was charged for that. We talked about that. They kept talking about cold justice again. There was some miscommunications or something. Apparently, Laura may have sent in records to cold justice without getting a permission from the prosecuting attorney or something. The prosecuting attorney said the last email was, we need to talk about this before you send them. However, they did have phone conversations that she couldn't remember. Anyway, they just went by that because really records being sent into cold justice really didn't affect a whole lot. They were offering free help into this case. Prosecuting attorney was released. The next witness was Michelle Floriano, known as the headhunter. I didn't know what they were talking about when they talked about headhunter. I kept thinking, what is she, like a bounty hunter? Does she like hunt down people? She actually helps people find work, and she took stand basically to excuse me. She basically took the stand just to confirm that she worked on helping Laura find jobs. This lady is something else, I'll tell you what. I wish I had wrote down or thought to write down more about her. I just actually friended her on Facebook, and I think since she's been hired for a local, I'm not going to say her company because it's just, I don't think it's right now. But anyway, Michelle finds jobs for people in this local area. And since being hired in this last job just a few months back, she's hired over 60 people, or found 60 people in this area jobs, good jobs. And send me a message if you guys are looking for a really good job and you need a hookup. I will hook you up to her. Obviously, she charges for that service, but she just confirmed that she was helping Laura in 2017. Well, that was pretty much it. I don't really want to get in a whole lot. She just really reflected that she helped Laura find a job. I think she did a really good job on posting and pointing it out that Laura was looking for work. She did talk a lot about what employers call being overqualified, and that because Laura was a police chief, that she was overqualified for anything she would apply for. If she went to a manufacturing job or a shipping job or anything like that, she had no training in that field. And even if she went in to be a police officer over again from the bottom up, they wouldn't hire her because she was over-experienced. And she testified that, unfortunately, also because of her age. In Michigan, you cannot discriminate because of a person's age. However, I found out today in Illinois and Indiana, they can require you to be an age in order to hire you. So, sidebar. They had a sidebar after our little break. Talked about the months before. They're trying to stop the next witness from coming onto the stand because what the witness had to say involved hearsay about what David Thayer said about about women don't belong in men's professions. Well, when all this stuff was happening, the bitch comment, the part where he approached Laura and tried to force her down into her seat and put his finger in her face, the part here where women don't belong in men's professions, She confided that in the next witness, who I think you're actually going to like, before she filed the lawsuit. So before she filed the lawsuit, she was actually talking about all the stuff that she filed the lawsuit with. The defense is trying to say that she lied and that they actually conspired this together, and that all of it is just a big ruse, you know, it's all fake. Well, after their little stuff going back and forth, the defense lost that part. He was allowed to testify. Jury re-enters. The next witness is Mike Niger. Mike Niger. He was an officer for 2 years. He worked for the Michigan State Police for 26 years, and he retired in 2012. The majority of his work was done in the evidence in the lab. I think he stated he only worked 2 years in a patrol car, and then he got, I think, detective or something. But he moved up and he moved into working evidence in labs and stuff like that. Many of you are going to be familiar with this if you're on Facebook and if you're from the Upper Peninsula area. He started a page called Backcountry Search and Rescue, UP Missing Persons. I share his content all the time. He retired in 2012, but he continues working missing persons cases all across the UP. When somebody goes missing, chances are you're going to see his flyers. He'll post a flyer, full color, descriptions, pictures, vehicles, numbers. He has access to a website that they use. They have access to a toll-free number to give people options to get tips in. And he's been doing this since 2012 for free. He worked the case to convict Kelly Cochran for free. Cold cases, free work, yeah. Says Laura was intertwined through the entire case. He testified that she was directing officers to do what they needed to do, collecting evidence. She was keeping people focused. He testified that she was friendly, supportive, and productive, and that she was, oh, I gotta turn this heat down. She was a working chief. She was always working. She was always in the field. She was rarely in her office. When they asked the defense was questioning that Laura had nothing really to do with this case, that it wasn't her work that solved the Kelly Cochran murder, that it was actually Jeremy Ogden, and I'm sure I just messed up Jeremy's last name. Anyway, this state trooper retired testified that Laura discovered many pieces of evidence. One of them involved the car of Chris, that the one they found that after he disappeared. And you'll see that in Dead North, where they found the car and they found evidence. Well, the state police looked over the car and they didn't find certain things. Laura and this gentleman went back and searched the car afterwards, and they discovered hair evidence, and they discovered some other things in the car that was vital to the case, as well as Chris's apartment. After the initial search by the state police and other agencies, Laura went back in with his ex-state police officer, and they discovered fingerprints that proved one of the suspects came back into the apartment after Chris had been killed. At Kelly Cochran's house, Laura was the one who found the tweezers, or it was the tool in the Dead North series in the sink. It had what the heck do they call it? It's like tweezers that kind of clip together. I don't know what the heck it's called, but biceps or something like that. But Laura discovered those, and I think they had blood or something on them. They also collected ashes in the fireplace. They found a sawzall blade. All things that the first investigation, the first search, didn't turn up. All of these things Laura found and turned in were used. Laura also was the person that proved Callie or Jason looked on the computer at the Caspian pit. After the murder, they searched their computer and found all these searches for the Caspian pit and had seen on Google Images that they were actually searching in certain areas. They found the gun in that same area. So they know that was premeditated because they were searching before that. Testified that Laura was having issues. In 2016, between May and the time that the pretrial was going on, he testified that she said that her boss had talked about women don't belong in law enforcement and talked about a meeting where a gentleman got into her face and it might get physical, where he forced her down. We talked about that. The fact that he was told that before she filed a lawsuit is a lot. The juries heard it. David Thayer's reactions during this testimony, he was not happy. I could tell in his face. He seemed like he was twitching a little bit more, touching his face a lot more. The jurors seemed like they were watching him, and I really think that this testimony may flip it again a little bit more for Laura. And again, this is where I'm going to tell you, sit back. I hope you're sitting down. This detective talks about how they think there are possibly 20 to 30 more bodies to be discovered in the Iron River area. They're calling them trophies. They believe that if you follow anything about serial killers, they like to keep trophies. They like to keep things close to home. And upon investigation of where they previously lived, they seriously do believe there are more bodies to be found. Shocking. This retired trooper talked about the hundreds of cases that he's worked. Cross-examination came in. Immediately they went to the Dead North and pretty much talked about Dead North, Dead North, Dead North, Dead North. This kept going into this about what Laura had to do with it, trying to make it seem like Laura had nothing, but they really didn't get across anything that they wanted to. This witness really helped Laura, in my opinion. So we really ended the day with the testimony of Michael Thompson, who deals in financials. He's the person that, because Laura was fired, they hired him to figure out how much money Laura actually lost, how much she may have earned. He worked in all of the different scenarios. He even talked about inflation. He talked about what Social Security might do. He like everything into one. And you're in the wrong profession. I'm in the wrong profession, because this man testified that he gets paid $750 per hour. 750.00 per hour. He's the man you'd go to talk to if you feel like you want to have a baby. He will break down your records, your wife's records, your girl, whatever. You give him all this information, and he will literally search the next 60 years, looking at all the stats, all the numbers. He's a numbers guy, so he searches all the numbers, and he'll tell you what this child will cost you. He'll tell you what a job will earn you. He'll tell you, can you afford to do this? You know, I mean, he's really good in numbers. But we watched his testimony via video. It was a 1 hour, 15-minute video. And at the conclusion of that video, the jurors were excused for the weekend, and we were excused for the weekend as well. Pretty much it. Yeah, I don't know. So far, day 5, I really think she's going to win. I really think the evidence is going to show that he harassed her and that he fired her because she was a woman. I guess Monday and Tuesday is when we will see the defense witnesses called. I understand that Mayor Tarsi, maybe some of the council members from Iron River will take the stand. I'm almost certain David Thayer is taking the stand. I can't wait. I cannot wait to see this. And yeah, pretty cool day. There was a woman here today I'm sure you're watching this right now, and I am so sorry. I cannot remember. I tell people I am sucky with names. I am sorry, but faces and names don't help me until I've interacted a couple of times with you. I can't get, yeah. Anyway, she traveled here today from near Green Bay, Wisconsin. Traveled all the way up here from Green Bay, Wisconsin, just to watch the trial. Thank you. Awesome. She also tipped me 40 bucks. I'm just putting that out there because people ask. She gave me 40 bucks for gas. Awesome. I do appreciate that. Yeah. I've talked to a lot of people. I've got a lot of people following me on Facebook, following Dead North, following this case from all over the world. Somebody in Nigeria. I don't remember all the different places. I think in England. And there was even a gentleman here. Well, he happens to be dating, I think, a lifetime friend of Laura. And he's from Australia. Pretty cool guy. He wasn't here today, but I'm sure we'll see him next week. And again, last week of her trial is next week. The courtroom has been empty. There's been a few spectators, but please come give her support. You can come sit through the trial. You can come get selfies. She will talk to you outside the courtroom. Jeremy's here. You can talk with him about Dead North or some other subjects, or whatever. They're really cool to talk to. We went over during a lunch break. We went over to Crystal Falls here, and I sat down with Laura, Jeremy, Laura's parents, and Michelle Floriano, who testified earlier. All 5 of us had lunch together. It was awesome. Laura's parents bought me lunch. Awesome. I love it. I guess that's pretty much it. I'm still sitting here at the courthouse now. I got 35 miles to drive home, enjoying the weekend. I told my wife that we have a date tomorrow. I do intend, I'm going to make a video actually, because we're going to the Eben Ice Caves here in the UP of Michigan. It's near Trinary. If you check out my YouTube page here, you will see I've done many videos about the Eben Ice Caves. That's E-B-E-N, Eben Ice Caves. Go check them out. Very awesome. So I'm taking my wife there tomorrow. No kids, just us two. Yeah, I'm going to make a video out there. If I can live stream, I will do that. But try to keep it, date stuff. Anyway, guys, again, I thank you so much for keeping up with these updates. I'm trying to do the best I can. Please, if you would, give me that thumbs up. I got 7 I see so far. Boost them up there. Get some thumbs up there. And the way YouTube works, it doesn't matter if you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It doesn't matter. Trolls help me all the time. So make sure you're a subscriber. Click that little bell on top so you do know when I go live, so you can watch these when I'm live instead of watching them when I'm not. Make a comment below. I will respond to almost every comment. If you do make a comment right now while I'm live, I will warn you, those comments will disappear on YouTube, and you will have to remake another comment after this video is posted. Join me on Facebook. My link is down below. I post a lot there. I post pictures of this area. I post a lot about what I do. Also below, you'll find my Instagram. I've been posting pictures in court and stuff from Instagram, so you can go there and look at that, as well as Twitter. And as always, very bottom, I do have a link for my PayPal. If you like my content and you want to help or support me or do anything in that nature, if you want to pay for gas, if you have a place you want me to go do, or something like, say, Eben Ice Caves, say you came up with that idea, like, Jason, can you go to Eben Ice Caves, and you threw me some money or whatever, with a little note attached, hey, this is what I want to give, and can you do this? I will do that. But YouTube is my life. YouTube is my job, if you want to call it that. I do make money here, and I do pay bills from YouTube. So that's why I include all of that. So again, thank you guys, everybody, for joining me live here in Crystal Falls, Michigan. My voice is getting better. I hope by day 5, I actually got better at telling you what's been happening. If you watch day 1, I got triggered pretty quickly by trolls. Day 2, I tried to ignore trolls less. Day 3, 4, or 5, feel like I'm doing pretty good. And again, your comments below will reflect that. So with that said, you guys have an awesome weekend. Have an awesome night wherever you are, and we'll see you on the flip side. Stay safe, everybody. Have a beautiful night.